As the liturgical year draws to a close, we're forced to face a hard truth. Everything we know will one day end. The end of an era, the end of institutions, the end of our own lives. Today's Gospel from Luke is direct about this. The disciples are admiring the magnificent, seemingly indestructible temple in Jerusalem. But Jesus makes a shocking prediction. It will all be torn down, not one stone left on another. This immediately creates a sense of deep insecurity, shaking the very foundations of their world. He goes on to describe a world unraveling into chaos, earthquakes, famines, and plagues. But the crisis becomes even more personal. He warns that believers will be betrayed by their own parents, siblings, relatives, and friends. It's a picture of total systemic failure, where every human loyalty is broken, leaving you utterly alone. The prophet Malachi paints a similar, terrifying picture. The day is coming, blazing like an oven, when all the proud and all evildoers will be stubble. Imagine that. Everything you rely on, family, home, your community, is stripped away. You're left standing alone, facing what feels like annihilation. And it's in that moment of complete desolation, when every support is gone, that Jesus speaks a promise so staggering, so intimate, it changes everything. But not a hair of your head will be lost. This is the key to our hope. In the face of universal collapse and betrayal, God guarantees our ultimate preservation. Let's explore how we move from the threat of fire to this divine guarantee. Malachi presents two very different outcomes for the coming day of judgment. The proud and the wicked are like stubble, consumed in an instant. Stubble represents a life built on pride, quick fixes, and refusing to acknowledge anything greater than oneself. It's temporary, superficial, and designed to burn. But for those who revere God's name, something incredible happens. For them, the Sun of Justice will arise, with healing in its rays. Think about that. The very same fire that destroys the wicked becomes a purifying light and warmth for the righteous. This gives us a powerful way to understand suffering. The pain we experience isn't random or meaningless. It's a refining process. The trials and persecutions Jesus described are part of this process, giving meaning to our present struggles. It shifts our perspective away from feeling like a victim and toward actively preparing for our ultimate vindication. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the concentration camps, wrote about this profound transformation. He said that suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds a meaning, like the meaning of a sacrifice. From a Christian perspective, our suffering isn't a pointless tragedy. It's a refinement, preparing us to be worshippers fit for eternity. The choice isn't between pain and safety, but between being consumed and being purified. Now, let's look closer at that incredible promise. The text moves from betrayal to death, and then to this absolute guarantee. You will be betrayed, ... They will put some of you to death, but not a hair of your head will be lost. How can Jesus promise that not a single hair will perish, right after saying some will be killed? If this promise was just about being physically unharmed, it would be a contradiction. The answer lies in understanding what perish truly means here. It's not about avoiding physical harm, it's about avoiding ultimate, irreversible spiritual loss. The promise is a rock-solid guarantee of our spiritual and resurrection security. Even the ultimate physical loss, death itself, is only temporary. Our entire being is secure in God's hands. What is lost in this life is held in God's perfect inventory, ready to be restored imperishably at the resurrection. The reference to a hair of your head emphasizes God's meticulous, total care. Hair is a symbol of our identity, and this shows that God is attentive to the most seemingly insignificant detail about us. It's the ultimate answer to the trauma and feelings of worthlessness that suffering can bring. God is telling us that every detail of our being, our essence, our history, our worth is known, cherished, and cannot be erased by the world's violence. As Frankl also said, everything can be taken from us but one thing: the freedom to choose our attitude in any given circumstance. The promise that not a hair will be lost is God's guarantee that the real you, your soul, your dignity, is that one thing that will be preserved entirely. This assurance of ultimate preservation is immediately followed by a command: by your patient endurance, you will save your lives. This makes active perseverance the way we claim that ultimate life. The Greek word used here is hypomen, which means to remain under. This isn't about passive resignation or just gritting your teeth. It's an active, hope-filled persistence. It's the conscious choice to stand your ground and hold out, refusing to run away when things get tough. Christian endurance is different from Stoic patience. Stoicism relies on human self-control and reason. But Christian resilience recognizes that some burdens are just too heavy for us to carry alone. The strength we need comes from God. It's a spirit-empowered dependence. We endure by choosing a continuous, trusting connection to God's timing and purpose. This call to patient endurance is also a call to live an active, diligent life. In his letter to the Thessalonians, St. Paul addressed people who had become idle because they were so focused on the end times. He condemned idleness because it leads to gossip and drains the community. He affirmed that disciplined, purposeful work is a form of worship. This focused labor anchors us psychologically and guards against the spiritual chaos that fear invites. Doing our work quietly and with discipline is a practical expression of that patient endurance. It shows we're not paralyzed by fear, but are actively building for eternity with the materials of today. Finally, Luke strategically contrasts how the world will react to the end times with how believers should respond. He says the world will be in distress, with people fainting from fear of what's coming. It's a picture of total terror and collapse. But in stark contrast, Jesus commands his followers, when these things begin to take place, straighten up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. This is a powerful image. To straighten up and lift up your heads is a physical posture that expresses spiritual readiness, dignity, and hopeful anticipation. It's the choice to look up in confidence while the world shrinks in terror. This changes our whole perspective. The very events that signal doom for the world become, for us, undeniable signs of our imminent deliverance. Tribulation is no longer an existential threat, but a countdown to redemption. We are not victims. We are victors. We know how the story ends. The King is coming to rule with justice and fairness. This certainty is the fuel for our perseverance. So, brothers and sisters, the day is coming, but we don't wait for it like people who have no hope. We stand on the immovable promise of Christ. Not a hair of your head will be lost. This promise is our anchor in the storms of life. It's the guarantee that our identity, our dignity, and our entire being are held safe by God. Our response is to actively commit to patient endurance, to live disciplined lives tethered to our purpose. Let's choose the posture of fortitude. Let's straighten up and lift our heads because our King has promised us ultimate preservation. Thanks for watching. If this message resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this.